So today I'm going to talk to you about a very important topic that is all about racial justice vocabulary. So I'm going to be covering topics related to racism and intersectionality, Black Lives Matter, and a lot of different vocabulary that you might be hearing in the news or in textbooks or articles in your classes.
Racial justice vocabulary lesson. Ally. An ally is someone who works to understand their privilege and commits to helping others who face injustice in order to end oppression. Assimilationist. This is the racist concept that one racial group is naturally inferior than another, and that this group needs to change their behavior and culture to become like another racial group. For example, the way people dress from other countries might be seen as strange or inferior. So people in the United States might think that immigrants need to assimilate to the way people dress and look here in the United States. Bigotry. This is when someone is prejudiced against another racial group and acts and speaks in a way that shows that they want to belittle or destroy the other group. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. This is also referred to as BLM. It is the political movement created in 2013 by three women, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi, that is trying to change the systemic racism against African Americans. These pictures are BLM protests for justice against police brutality and injustice. Cultural racism. The type of racism that makes one race the norm and superior for a society. For example, whiteness is seen as the standard for beauty for women in the U.S. So straight hair, light skin, thin nose, and lips are all seen the most beautiful and socially acceptable. For example, there have been many cases of discrimination in the United States against Black women who wear their hair natural when trying to get a job or in their careers. In 2020, many states have passed laws called the Crown Act that prevents discrimination against Black people based on their hair. Diversity. In terms of racial justice, it means that all groups of people should be valued for their differences. This means race, but also includes class, disabilities, gender, nationalities, religion, sexual orientation, etc. In terms of demographics, it means the amount of each group in a specific area. Diversity. Implicit bias. This is hidden or unconscious prejudices about people who are different than them in terms of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, ability, etc. People's habits and judgments based on this implicit bias can have really serious consequences, such as job hiring and loan applications. So, for example, studies show that men are much more likely to hire other men who look just like them. This is this implicit bias. Indigenous. Indigenous means the people who are descendants of the first people who inhabited an area. For example, in the U.S., Native Americans, Blackfeet, Hopi, Navajo, Wampanoag, etc. are the indigenous people. Intersectionality. The connection between race, class, and gender in society. People who fall under the category of more than one of them are disadvantaged by oppression even more. For example, a Black woman has to deal with the oppression of racism and sexism. Microaggression. The everyday racism and discrimination that people experience who are in a minority group. people of color, women, gay people, etc. It can seem small because it's often done in a joking way or an innocent way. For example, when a white person acts surprised when a black person has a scholarship to a top university. People of color. A way to refer to any group of people who are not white or Caucasian. Colored is a racist term from the past. So we can see in this picture here that this was taken during the 1950s, 1960s, and this was a racist term used for black people. Use people of color nowadays. It's seen as more politically correct. Racial justice. The equal way that all people are treated in a society. It is where a government works to create policies to make sure people of color have equal opportunities and are treated fairly under the law. Systemic racism. Systemic racism, the institutionalized part of society that holds people of color back and pushes white people forward to succeed. For example, property taxes pay for public schools, so rich white children get the best schools and the best teachers because white people own more wealthy homes in the United States. White privilege. The power that white people experience because the society and institutions give them more opportunities and no oppression. For example, a white person can apply for a job and know that they won't be discriminated against because of their name. For example, a white person can drive without being afraid of being pulled over by the cops.